Hey guys, Chinese New Year is here again. Festive music, beautiful decorations, lion dances, and food, feasting, and more food. Now, not long ago, we had our obligatory feasting for Christmas and New Year, and I thought it'd be a great time to talk about festive eating. After all, when you're trying to do things right, how do you handle it? Maybe you started off the year really well, and you're just starting to gain that momentum. How do you still enjoy the festivities without killing it? It's a social occasion, everybody's happy, you don't want to spoil the mood. What can you do? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you 6 tips for festive eating that will help you still enjoy the festivities and gain the minimum amount of weight. For years, I found it interesting how my consultations tend to spike up after a festive occasion. There's Christmas, of course, there is the New Year, and especially in Singapore, there's Chinese New Year. Now, these are happy occasions for celebration, but alas, with great celebration comes great food. With great food comes great weight gain. And with great weight gain comes a little bit of guilt. Now, Chinese New Year is an especially dangerous occasion. It's not just a one-off like Thanksgiving dinner or the New Year booze party. You're making multiple visits to friends and family, all of whom will present you with the most tempting calories possible. Now, great hospitality means great food and lots of it. The more friends and family you have, the more visitations you do, and the more you eat. Now, how easy are these calories to accumulate? Well, let's have a look. Now, let's say you try to moderate your intake. For each visit, you limit yourself to 1 slice of bak kwa, 2 love letters, 2 pineapple tarts, and 4 kueh bangkits. Now, the total calories from this would be about 600. Now, put that in perspective. If you're 70 kilograms, you need to jog at 8 kilometers an hour for an hour, right? That's an 8-kilometer run. Now, imagine that you did 2 visits a day. That's 1,200 calories or 2 8-kilometer runs or 16 kilometers. And what about a 2-day weekend? That's 4 visitations, 2,400 calories, or 4 such runs for a total of 32 kilometers. Now, there's a saying that you can't outrun your fork, and what this means is that you can't exercise and burn calories off faster than you can consume them, for most people anyway. Now, keeping in mind that this 600 calorie example is actually a lot less than most people will eat, and that's in addition to your main meals like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you can see how this is true. Now, are we safe after that weekend? Well, no, because our friends and colleagues bring into the office all kinds of goodies the following week. And when it's lunchtime and you're hungry and the food is there, now you might think, well, I'll just control myself. But in my experience, this doesn't work for 3 reasons. First, psychologically, it's really hard to do when you've got that amazing spread in front of you. And second, it's a social occasion. Do you really want to hurt your grandparents' feelings when they've been queuing up for hours for the best bak kwa in town? Now, third, too much repression often leads to a rebound in the opposite direction, in the worst possible way to the worst possible extreme. So the key is moderation, and here are 6 ideas for you. First, have breakfast. Now, while the psychological temptation is there, you can't escape the physical limitations of your stomach size. So before you go out visiting, have a good healthy breakfast, which is something you should be doing every day anyway. Now, it should be filling with complex carbs and lots of fiber. So oats, multi-grain cereal, not the unhealthy kinds, and a wholemeal sandwich are good ideas here. Now also make sure to have protein. Now, protein is important after a whole night of fasting, especially for your hungry muscles. And they also give you more satiety. So things like eggs, milk, and chicken from last night's dinner are all good choices here. 2. Chew, be mindful, and take your time. Now, people eat too fast. That's the busy world we live in today where time is everything. But the problem is, it takes a while for your brain to get the message that you're full. And if you don't pace yourself, you'll probably eat more than necessary. So chew and take your time. Now here's another tip. You might have heard of the 80-20 rule. Well, as it turns out, there is another 80-20 rule when it comes to nutrition. Now because it takes your brain a while to register that you're full, eat until you're 80% full. Then wait 20 minutes. If you're still hungry, then eat a little more. Now, eating slowly will also help you extract the maximum taste from each bite, prolonging the sensation. So effectively, you can get more flavor with less food. And finally, chewing slowly also lets you focus on the people around you, adding to the totality of the experience, because you're not then looking out and reaching out for food all the time. 3. Fill your plate. Now this one's a little bit counterintuitive, but it's actually the only way you'll be able to keep track of what you eat. Now if your plate always has space on it, and someone always adds food to it, you won't have a clue how much you've eaten. And also psychologically, when you see some white on your plate, you tend to think that, oh, it's okay because it's just a fraction of the plate. Well, those fractions add up. So, fill your plate at the start, decline new offerings until it's empty, and then you'll have a better idea of what you're eating and how much. 4. Fill your glass with water. Now, there are 2 reasons for this. First, just like the breakfast strategy, if your stomach has been pre-filled, it becomes actually quite uncomfortable to eat too much. Second, it replaces the alcohol and the sweet drink that you normally have for these special occasions. Now let's talk about alcohol first. Alcohol gives you plenty of empty calories with zero nutrition in exchange. It also impairs judgment, so when you're not thinking straight, moderation and food choices go out the window. Now here's something more serious. Even if you were to limit yourself to 1 drink per visit, for 2 visits, that's 2 drinks. For 3 visits, that's 3 drinks. And all that accumulates. Now, alcohol has been the cause of many a tragic accident, especially around the festive season. And that's something to really think about, especially if you're driving with family in the car. Less dangerous are sweet drinks. So I'm talking about things like soft drinks, packet drinks, or cordials. These are all easy ways to load up on the calories and on the carbs, and that spikes your blood sugar and also jacks up your waistline. So don't drink and replace with water. Now, if the hosts don't serve it, well, nowadays it's become acceptable to bring along your own water bottles, so do that. 5. Nibble on nuts. Now, there aren't too many healthy options offered during Chinese New Year, but one thing you can almost always be sure of are nuts. Now, nuts are high in protein and are a good source of healthy fats, and they do add to your satiety too. So try to go for a mixture of nuts. Peanuts and pistachios are common offerings, and try to get them in as natural a form as possible. So if you have a choice between shelled peanuts and unshelled flavored salted peanuts, go for the unshelled ones. 6. Opportunistic exercise. Now, this one isn't about the visitations themselves, but what you do between visits. Get some exercise. Now, even if it's just a few sets of stair climbing or a few sets of squats, try to put in some exercise. Now, I'll be honest, that extra 20 or 50 calories isn't going to make much of a dent, but it'll accomplish 2 things. Now, first, when you're on visitation after visitation, it can become a really mind-numbing blur. Doing some exercise in between acts as a pattern interrupt that keeps you in the mindset of being healthy. And the second, it will help you practice moderation and maybe even curb your appetite. Of course, if you can get some full workouts between visits, that's even better, because then you'll burn some real calories that will offset some of the calories you've consumed. Now let me end by sharing something I think a lot of people tend to forget, especially when they start to become really serious about taking charge of their health. Now we all admire people of iron will, Spartan, determination, focus, discipline, but do remember there's a purpose and emotional component to celebrating with loved ones. Now physical health is important and eating correctly is a part of it. But try to do so in a way that doesn't hurt people's feelings or impose on others, and take away the purpose of the celebrations. You know, festivals are a cultural thing, and I think they're especially important to our elders, such as our grandparents. So try to meet them halfway, because unlike our younger friends, they may not understand. And isn't it important to give them some happiness during this festival too? You know, they may not have as many years ahead of them as we do. Now believe me, if you try to be consistent throughout the year, you know, even if you're 90, 80 or even 70% consistent, sinning these few occasions isn't going to make much of a difference. And that's really one thing, you know, that happiness in the AA philosophy is about. Balance, right? Being healthy is great, right? It's an important foundation, which is why we talk about it. But remember, it's just a foundational means to an end, not an end itself. And that end is happiness from living a full life. You know, happiness shared with loved ones is a part of it. And I think special occasions that bring people together a few times a year has some real value and they should be celebrated. Alright, so that's it for this video. I want to wish you a happy Chinese New Year or whatever festival you happen to be in when you found this video. Please share it with someone you think will benefit. I think there are quite a few people who could use this, especially around these special festivals. Right? Please like this video, subscribe, hit that notifications button, and please do share with me some of your ideas for festive eating in the comments below. I'd love to hear what they are. Alright, I'll see you soon in the next video.